Welcome to the Heart for God podcast. With many years of experience pastoring and helping to start churches, Dr. Jim Townsley has some practical and biblical advice that can be a great help to you and your ministry. On this podcast, Dr. Townsley and other guests with special expertise cover a variety of topics. His goal is to help you lead your church to be a healthy, strong, and balanced ministry, and for your family to be happy, healthy, and living for the Lord.
Hey, welcome to today's podcast. I'm glad you joined me. Right now, we're at the Jehovah Jireh board meeting, and I have with me Brother Loyld. Why don't you just tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're at, and what you're doing?
Sure. Yeah, my name is Loyld, and I pastor Harvest Baptist Temple in Medford, Oregon. I've been there for about 11 years, and I've been pastoring it for 8 years.
And where is that roughly? Where is Medford?
Medford is in southern Oregon, about 25 to 30 miles from California, right on the I-5 corridor in the Rogue Valley of southern Oregon.
Okay. And did you start the church, or the church was already there and you took it over?
Yeah, the church was planted on June 19th of 1977, and I was born 6 weeks later, so I did not plant the church. Bob Gass and Mike Gass were brothers. Their families, the Lord led them out there, and they planted the church, and then I was called there in 2014 to succeed Pastor Bob Gass.
Okay, but you have a burden for church planting, and you've started churches out of your church.
Yes, sir, we have.
Tell me about that.
Sure. In 2018, not long after I became the senior pastor, the Lord just burdened my heart for Southern Oregon specifically. If you were to put our church at the epicenter of a circle with a 75-mile radius, there'd be some gospel-preaching churches in that radius, and I'm thankful for them, but there would be no churches that would be like us, that would have been like our churches. And so I had a burden for that area. And so I presented a vision called Vision Southern Oregon in 2019, January of 2019, to our church, and I just asked the church to begin to pray with me about seeing the Lord use us as a local church to plant 3 churches in Southern Oregon by 2025. And that was the goal. It was ambitious. In fact, I even started making excuses right away for why we weren't going to get there. Oh, me of little faith. I just would tell the church, as soon as I presented the vision, I started to say, if we only get to 1, though, that's 1 more than was there.
Sure.
But here we are in 2025, and Lord willing, by the end of the summer, early fall, we will be launching our 3rd church plant.
Wow.
1 in Grants Pass, 1 in Eagle Point, and then 1 in Ashland, which will be the next one. And we're right in the middle of that triangle.
Now, your church is not a mega church either. I mean,
it's not. We run maybe 300, 275, 300. But we do, and every time we start a church, I don't want to say lose, because we don't lose them, but we send a group of people with them. We send a team out of our church to help with the church plant. And so the Lord is good. The Lord's faithful. We stay after it with outreach, and the Lord always replenishes our church as well. So we're thankful for that.
Well, people have to be really committed in the church. I mean, this can't be just you. It's got to be the church family that's really behind it.
Yeah, it was, at first, when I first presented the vision, I could almost see the fear, a little bit of intrepidation, because, we work hard to go out door knocking and sow and water, and, the Lord gives the increase, but then now we're going to send them away to other churches, and it's not an easy sell necessarily. But as we saw the first church plant take off in Grants Pass, the church quickly bought in. They got excited about it as we saw what happened there, and kind of an ancillary blessing as we were just praying about the churches. The Lord also dropped a 4th one kind of in our lap. We planted a 4th church up in Idaho, and they're doing well as well. And so we have the 3 going already, and then we'll be planting our 4th one by the end of the summer. And the 3 that are going, And this is where Ephesians 3:20 really comes to life. Our God is able to do exceeding abundantly above all that we ask or think. All three of them have property and buildings. Not that we're leasing, but that we're purchasing. It's ours exclusively.
That is amazing. That is incredible. Yes, wow. And you have to get preachers from somewhere. It's hard to find young men.
Sure.
So where do you find a pastor to take this over?
Well, again, by the grace of God, each of the families that have gone out to be the church planting pastor either grew up in our church or their spouse grew up in our church. Our one in Idaho, Raleigh Hill, his wife Cassie grew up in our church. And then the three that are in Southern Oregon were all saved and baptized and discipled and trained right there at our church. They got some Bible college training as well, but they're all homegrown. And so that's a tremendous blessing.
That certainly is. And, I think this vision, though, that you have, a lot more pastors need to get that same vision. That they may not start 3 in the period of time you did, but I wonder how many churches have never reproduced one church. I mean, that if everybody got busy, I mean, that would, in the next 5 or 10 years, we could double the amount of churches we have.
Man, what a tremendous thought that is. I mean, we use that phrase for outreach in our local church, each one reach one, but what if each church planted a church in the next 5 years or in the next 3 years?
Sure.
It's just be incredible for our country, no doubt.
Certainly would. And there is more interest, but we need young men. We need young men to surrender the ministry and give their lives. I mean, you can only make so much money, and it takes work, you roll up your sleeves, but just think how rewarding it is once you see that from nothing to actually build something.
Yeah, I've never planted a church, and I've never really been a part of a church plant until this. So I honestly, Brother Townsley, I was pretty frightened. I was scared, and so I kept just thinking of the verse 2 Corinthians 3:5, not that we are sufficient of ourselves to think anything as of ourselves, but our sufficiency is of God, and it was just total dependence on Him.
Well, it is a miracle because, it's like someone giving birth to a child. When you're there, if your wife in that operating room and she gives birth to that child, you think, wow, this is a miracle. And I think it's sort of like that when you start a church. Just a miracle.
I think it's a great analogy because this will be our 4th one, and each one has been different. So there's not really a cookie cutter mold that we follow. Now we do have a plan that we use as a springboard, but each of them took on their own, their own characteristics and their own personality, much like a child. And as a sending church, and this is a philosophical thing, we want to make sure that we can be fiscally responsible for them if something were to happen with all their other support.
Sure, yeah. So we are here at this board meeting in Jehovah Jireh. We just approved 3 churches. I think it was 50,000 twice and 75,000 once, something like that. That was exciting to see and hear about these works that are getting started, and we got 3 more tomorrow. So how long have you been associated or on the board at Jehovah Jireh?
I started with Jehovah Jireh in 2021. I met Brother Bossy in 2020 during the COVID year, and I came on the board in 2021.
Terrific, yeah. And so you're seeing all these things happen because when you send those board meetings and you say, wow, that's a miracle, what they're doing, and they're starting a church, and they've got people coming. But if there's somebody listening and, you meet the qualifications, there's money available. We just need personnel.
Yes, definitely, yeah. If a man desire the office of a bishop, he desireth the good work. I think that's the word we're afraid of sometimes is work.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Well, it is work. But anything worth doing, it costs something. There's an involvement there. Well, I appreciate you taking a little bit of time to be able to share what you're doing. I think, if I'm right, Oregon and Washington are the least churched states in the union.
Sure. I know Oregon is, if not the least, it's way up there. It's got to be like in the top 2 probably. But Washington is pretty sparse as well. with regard to churches.
Yeah, the reason New England isn't is because of Catholicism. So
Sure. Yeah. Sure.
But even that's changing. They're not even going to church now, the Roman Catholic. And they were 50 years ago. They were really faithful. But it's exciting to be part of God doing something.
Sure.
And hopefully more people will get involved, either giving or going or helping.
It's a blessing. Thank you, Brother Townsley.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
God bless you for listening today. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the podcast, consider sharing it with a friend. You can also follow at Dr. Townsley on Twitter or on Facebook at Jim Townsley.